welcome to a chapter day. Again, I have missed 2 days, well, 1 day rather, so I missed yesterday, so today I'm going to try to make up for yesterday and today. And it is June the, is it the 12th? Oh mercy, if I don't check my dates at the beginning, I forget what date it is, but let's see, I think it may be June 12th to be specific. Just, Lord help me. Anyway, it's either June 11th or 12th, and I'm banking on it's June 12th. Okay, so hey, I'm on vacation. I don't really need to remember the dates, but I try to give you a date when I start my reading. But if I can't remember the exact date or I don't get it right, please don't hold it against me. I usually find it when I'm reviewing my videos, and I do make a correction in the editing. You know, I put the date that I did the recording if I did say the wrong date. So June 12th, okay, and again I will make a correction if I later on find out it's not June 12th, it might be the 13th. Mercy, Lord help me. Okay, let's go on. Chapter 4. So I'll be reading 2 chapters, chapters 4 and 5. And remember, these are just remembrances or reiterations or reviews of Moses with the children of Israel. He knows that he's not going to go into the promised land with them because God has told him he did the wrong thing at the waters when he struck the rock instead of speaking to it. So God is not going to allow him to go forward into the land of Canaan with the children of Israel. So he's kind of giving them a little forward before they go on without him, because now Joshua is going to be leading them. So he is just kind of giving them a recap of what they've all experienced to have them remember God has been leading them all the time, and all the things that he's brought them through, and the things they should and shouldn't do. Okay, so let's see how it goes. Chapter 4 of Deuteronomy. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you for to do them, that you may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal-peor, for all the men that followed Baal-peor. The Lord thy God has destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And you came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that you might do them in the land whither you go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for you saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as you are of this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but you shall go over, and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image, or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath bidden you. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. When thou shalt beget children, and children's children, and you shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything that shall do evil in the sight of, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God, to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that you shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto you go over Jordan to possess it. You shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him, if thou shalt seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shalt be obedient unto his voice. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto thee, unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard and lived? Or hath God essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation, by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Unto thee it was showed, that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he showed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, and might greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord, he is God in heaven above and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt, on this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth-peor, in the land of Sihon, king of Bashan, of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sunrise. From Aroah, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain, under the springs of Pisgah. You know, I don't think we know the vastness of the land that was given to the children of Israel. All we focus on is this little area called Israel today. That's not it. That's not all of it at all. That's not even close, I'm sure. The lands that God gave to the children of Israel, there were 12 tribes. There was not just a few people. We're talking about 500,000 people back thousands of years ago who came out of Egypt, and God spread them out. Some of them were in lands where they didn't even remove all the people. People multiply. I mean, if it's one thing people do, we multiply. And like Moses was telling them, they heard God's voice. Who else has heard God's voice? Audibly. I mean, honestly, we hear God in our hearts through his spirit. We have not audibly. When people say God spoke to me, it's through our spirits now. What would it have been like if we had audibly heard God's voice? And the reason God didn't show his face was because, exactly as Moses said, people would want to make all kinds of images in his likeness. And that is exactly what people are doing today. And they have never seen God. They've never seen God. They've never seen God. All of these pictures with Jesus, even Jesus didn't leave any accounts of himself. Nothing. And I think that's why God came when he did, because there were no cameras or videos. There was no one really sketching pictures, or if they were, they weren't doing it in a way that it could be saved. That's why today what we have to go by is called faith. We've never seen God, we've never heard God audibly, but in our spirits, that's where we today as Christians experience God, as followers of God. So that was the end of chapter 4 of Deuteronomy. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Even though we can't hear him audibly, we feel him in us. When people say, how do you know God lives? Because like the song says, he lives in my heart. When I talk to God, I feel a sense of calm and comfort and fulfillment. There's something. We are spirits housed in bodies, in case we forget. We are not bodies with spirits. We are spirits in bodies. God made the housing first, and then he put his spirit in there. We each have our spirits. We each are spirits. That's why when we sometimes have these feelings that, you know, we can sense when evil is around us, it is because we are spirits, and we can sense spirits that go against the ones that are good, which is what we have when we are in communion with God. Oh, there's so much more to us than we know, people. We're so wonderfully and fearfully made that that's why the devil is after us. He wants to destroy our minds, drugs, destroy our bodies, illicit behaviors, just destroy everything that God has created us to be. And we allow him to. We need to stop and check ourselves. Okay, I'm going to Deuteronomy chapter 5. Let's see what more Moses has to say to the children of Israel. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that you may learn them and keep and do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. The Lord talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. Just going to straighten up my... I stood between the Lord and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord. For you were afraid by reason of the fire and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of thy fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, neither shalt thou commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that you came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, the Lord our God has showed us his glory and his greatness. And we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God, speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived. Go thou near, and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when you spake unto me, and the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there was such an heart in them, that they would fear me, and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, get ye into your tents. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments, which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I go to possess it. You shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. You shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that you may live, and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess. Wow, I tell you, this may have been thousands of years ago, but I'm telling you, God is the same back then as he is today. And everything that he told the children of Israel, we are the children of Israel. We are spiritual Israel. They were physical Israel. We are now spiritual Israel because we are dealing with God's Spirit, not God himself anymore. We are now dealing with God's Spirit that God has sent himself for us. God is always providing for a communication system between us. All of the commandments of God are still binding. Just like Moses said, and no more. God added no more words to whatever his 10 commandments were. He did not take away any either. He did not change anything, including the day that he wanted us to observe as a rest day. He gave it to us. A command is something you ought to do. God is saying, do this, and you will live, and your children will live, and you will prosper, and your children will prosper. He's not just blessing us, he's blessing our children. Sometimes we see things are going wrong in our families, and we don't check ourselves. First, check yourself. God is giving you a heads up. Hey, you need to get in contact with me. It's like someone has an urgent message for you, something good that they want to give you, and you are not getting in contact with them. God is our Father. It's the Spirit. We are connected to God, and we don't even connect with him. What do we expect to happen? It's not going to go well with us. It's not going to go well with our souls. We are souls, okay? God breathed into Adam, and he became a living soul. We are souls. We don't have souls that vanish away when we die, or whatever stuff we see on television these days. All lies. We need to get back with God and God alone. So that was the end of chapter 5. Moses is really putting in the time to remind the children of Israel, to recall to them all of God's words, all of God's commandments, all of God's interactions. The people were so afraid of God's voice. Can you imagine when Jesus returns and we see? That's why some people are not going to be able to withstand it. They're going to drop dead right there on the spot. The children of Israel couldn't even stand to hear God's voice. They weren't seeing him, but they couldn't even withstand his voice. What are we going to do if we are not connected with God and Jesus returns? With the sound, it will sound like trumpets. I don't know if it will be literal blowing of trumpets, but just the return of Jesus will sound like trumpets. And we're going to be seeing him. How are we going to stand? Like the song says, how shall we stand in that great day? What are we going to do? Are we going to run to the hills and say, fall on us, we can't stand this? I pray not. Now is the appointed time, people. This is the Old Testament, and the word is still as valid as it was thousands of years ago. Nothing has changed. When Jesus said, I come quickly, he meant it. 1,000 days to us is a day in heaven. 1,000 days to us. So if this earth is, even if it's 100,000 years, it's just 100 days in heaven that Jesus has been gone, if we want to say that. But I'm saying this now. Now is the appointed time. So this is the end of chapters 4 and 5 of Deuteronomy. I thank you all again for listening, for viewing, commenting. I pray that you be blessed. And again, remember, faith comes by hearing God's word. Until our next reading, take care. Bye.